Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. And today we get to visit Torch, the gate town within the the city of neutrality that is attached to, or dare I say, um, promised to the Great Plain of, or the Bleak Eternity. I almost forgot it. I messed that up. The Bleak Eternity of Gehenna. Yeah. We're going to talk about the other white meat today. You know who gets a lot of the attention? The Nine Hells gets a lot of attention because it's lawful evil. And then the Abyss gets a lot of attention because it's chaotic evil. But we got a lot of stuff in the middle. And one mover and shaker, one power that is not often given a lot of attention are the Yugoloths of Gehenna, or essentially the neutral evil fiends of the multiverse. And in Planescape and throughout the multiverse of the lower planes, the Yugoloths, once known as the Daemons, I think it's just pronounced demons, but it's Daemons. They represent the neutral evil, the connivers, the backstabbers, the ones who don't do anything unless it's in their self interest. And so we're going to talk about them, and of course talk about this gate town of Torch. Um, as a reminder, gate towns are um, a pie slice of the bleeding edge of each of the planes of existence that exists in concordant opposition. It exists on the neutral plane, and so it has many of the elements of the plane that it comes from, which is neutral evil. But it can't be exactly neutral evil because there must be some element within it that disrupts the alignment that it has for it to exist here. So taking that trip on that train, that taking the train that goes across the various planes of existence, it may come around here and come to Torch. So Torch, the gate town of Torch, is known for its three giant volcanoes, and the upper reaches of the volcanoes are attached to each other by these bridges. And of course, the bridges are narrow and kind of rickety. And this is absolutely a hellscape. It's volcanic, it's ash, it's rivers of lava, and then at the very lowest edges of the volcanoes, it's nothing but swampy murk, bubbling mud, and even pools of acid and such. Yes. So that settles it. The politicians are Eugliths. Yes. Yes, they are. They are the third unspoken of arm in the Blood War. The Blood War being the the constant fight between battle between the devils and demons, and of course that Blood War is purposefully churning between those two factions so that they don't combine together, because the Celestials, the goodly uh, denizens, don't have the population to defend against such huge armies of the evil ones, and they keep building their armies more and more. So to keep the Blood War going is one thing, and the Eugliths are kind of like an agent of that. Shai says, assuming they are reptilian overlords, it's just plain wrong. The veil has been lifted from our eyes, and now we see the true reality. We are ruled by Yugoloths, or whatever. Yeah, selling strategic information to either side, and they sure do. They are nothing but selfish, murderous, it only in it for their own purposes. And I think one of the reasons why, yep, supporting Tanari and the Biatsu alike, like any politician would. Yep, they claim not to be on any side, and actually their nature makes them not. They are the living embodiment of selfishness. Now they will do a air quotes good thing as a side effect, but ultimately it needs to benefit them. So a good thing would be sparing someone's life if they are given, because they're greed incarnate. So if you trade them information, magic, money, slaves, promises, yeah, it's that kind of thing. And more likely than not, they're not going to take something that they can't hold on to. So yes, you could flatter them and promise them something later, but if they can't capitalize on that promise, they're not going to believe it or sit to it. At least the ones that are in the higher power. Now, remember, I was talking about the bleeding edge. So, Torch, the city of Torch, is reminiscent of the rest of Gehenna. So these three giant volcanoes that are constantly churning. Um, the neutrality of it means that it is not true chaos and it's not true law and order. So, in other words, there are rules, but the rules just happen to be unfair and they shift around a lot. And the volcanic, how to explain, the physical nature of Torch and the physical nature of Gehenna represents the chaos. So in other words, everyone is building their own kingdom on a foundation of sand in many ways, and this is the physical embodiment of it. So no matter what uh, the denizens of Torch and Gehenna build, it's possible that as they gain in power, that simply living on a plane will crush them in a flood of lava, an earthquake, a landslide. Um, it's constantly like walking uphill, and literally the plane of Gehenna is nothing but a 45-degree or sharper side of a giant volcano. There's no flat ground. It's You're constantly trudging up, and if you try to take a nap, chances are you're going to slide downhill, and you'll just slide down to nothing. There is no bottom. And as you try to scramble to the top, because everybody's trying to scramble to the top like crabs in a barrel, um, you may get lost in the upper reaches and never to be seen again, although others would be jealous of you, or they try to pull you back down. And again, just when you think you're above everyone, you're at the top of the hill, you could easily slide back down. And so it's pretty interesting how they physically represent the alignments in Planescape. And let me reiterate, you may not agree with it, which I actually think is a feature, not a detriment, because the player characters could be like, this isn't right how this is worded or described or how it's done. And I really like the idea of the players being agents of like policing the alignment system and like trying to fix it or challenge it or fight it or something. It's kind of cool. The End King says, I always thought that being a veteran of the Blood Wars could be interesting for a high fantasy PC. Endless trenches, barbed wire everywhere. You know what? It's weird because there's lots of material talking about the Blood War, and especially, I mean, they mention troops and front lines and things, but you don't see the numbers and the ravaging that goes on one against the other, right? Like they talk about it, but it's always on the horizon or around the corner or somewhere else. Just weird. But so I agree with you. Shai says, so Torch is where the petitioners hang out, the petitioners who want to go to hell. Now, okay, so I mentioned before that this is my own head canon. So this isn't written anywhere. But in my own head canon, I feel like I have never read the Blood War comic book. Nope, never read it. Um, in my own head canon, I see either the petitioners. So those who don't know, petitioners are souls that come to the outer planes. They die or whatever, or sent here, or kidnapped here, or something, and they exist here. So on one level, you have people who have their eyes open. They know where they're at, and they probably don't want to be there, or they're there and they have to figure out how to survive. So they know they're on the neutral evil plane of existence, or at least the front door of Torch. Second ones are people who have they don't remember their old lives at all. They live here, they just understand what the rules are, and they never question it. They don't plan on leaving. They know how horrible it is, but they have a, I don't want to use the word comfort. They are intrinsic to the plane of existence. So they know what the rules of existence are, and they just go with the flow, whether that means they suffer for it or whatever. And then lastly, I would say that there are people um, who are questioning why they're here, don't know how they got here, and they're kind of in the middle. It's like their eyes are opening up, but they don't remember where they came from, and these are the ones whose alignment doesn't align with where they're at, and for good or bad. And these are the people probably most likely that the player characters can like kind of um, manipulate or recruit or something, and and there's a good chance most of the petitioners here don't realize they're going to hell, right? Like I said, there's probably a small group, maybe a third of the group that's like, oh, like fuck, I really did do all the bad things. I guess I am going to hell, right? And then there's other people that are like, oh, I'm looking around and going, this is just like my life when I was somewhere else. And then lastly, there's people who live here who are trying to take advantage. And the the way it's described, the gate to Gehenna is is above one of the volcanoes, so you can't just walk to it. You actually have um, to get through the gate to Gehenna. There is this ancient red dragon, the name of Old Goldbelly, an ancient red dragon, and that red dragon sits on top of a pile of money that is hideously large. And in order to get to the gate, you have to give a gift to the red dragon, who will fly you up to the gate, and you'll step through. So what can you give a red dragon that's got everything? I don't know. And so the people in Torch um, backstab, they're greedy, they are connivers, and if you're trying to get to the gate, they're all trying to get what ill-gotten goods they can get there to get through that gate. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. um Dan King says, I know Shice is joking about politicians, but Gehenna sounds like the endless promise of revolution, dictators promising the world to get to the top. Absolutely. And here's the weird thing too. In a strange way, they're right. And what I mean by that is some of them are so conniving that the plans that they have in motion could work. The problem is you can't trust them to accomplish those goals, if that makes sense, right? So there's this conundrum of they're so good at maneuvering and making promises and not getting backstabbed, a la Littlefinger and the Spider in Game of Thrones, that they're so good at making real promises that seem real because they are real on the surface, but really there's something underneath it, that if you were to steal their plans, you could probably get something done, but you could never trust them to do it. So it's like, damn it. Yeah, Chai says, I always thought the Blood War was disappointingly cartoony for such a sophisticated setting, the way it busts mighty demons and devils down to mere cannon fodder. But it can be amusing. Yeah, there's a little bit of like not a little bit. There's a lot of tongue in cheek, and there is comedy within the Planescape setting. It's kind of weird, but there's a lot of comedy in it. Um, Chai says it comes with the Planes of Chaos box set, the comic book. Ah, it's about a Cambion in love with a Marilith who's hooked up with a Baylor. And a Euclid tricks him. Never mind, just read it. It's short and sweet. Short and sweet. Oh, uh, look up Lament Zaraxis, Cambion, hero of the Blood War. You'll find the PDF. Oh, okay, let me see. Lament. Let's see. Of Zarak. Jesus. Zaraxis. Let's see. Hmm. Did I find it? I'm getting music. I'll find it one of these days. Okay. You'll believe he went to Gehenna when he died. Oh no. Hey, M squared's back. Hey. Okay. Um, so let's start our adventure in Torch. All right. So Torch is a den of thieves built on the slopes of three volcanic spires that rise from a blood red marsh. Oh, let me show you what some. Let's share some images of Eugoliths and let's see. Yeah. We'll do this. We'll share some images of Eugoliths, and there is no one there's no one look for Eugoliths. So it basically you can make any kind of Eugolith you want. So for example, you can see one that looks like a fox. There's ones that look like insects and such. And in many ways, if you want to make them, just change the prefix in the front to what you want them to be. So like there are ultraliths and altaliths and meriliths and meronliths and whatever. So you can make up your own, and they pretty much embody the type of conniving self-centeredness that you would find in that creature. So a fox is like an arcanolith and knows lots about magic and wheeling and dealing, whereas you might have one that's insectoid or bestial that will consume you if you don't, you know, um, if you don't appease its hunger. There might be like a shadowy one. So, if you want to make up a Eugolith, you can. They're also known as daemons, and it's too close to demon, and you got to figure out the spelling and that kind of thing. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, Torch is a den of thieves built on the slopes of three volcanic spires that rise from the blood red marsh. Formed from hardened molten rock, the pillars alternate in spewing blazing streams of pyrophoric gas, providing light and heat to the town. Clustered buildings retreat from the pestilent swamp, climbing each spire to its steep, walled off heights. Notorious kingpins, brazen embezzlers, and brooding criminal masterminds look down on the petty larcenists from their towering hideouts. But danger still looms even for those at the top. Without warning, the hollow peaks erupt with sporadic jets of lava and flaming rock slides, or as the locals say, trouble above, trouble below. And there are Tori Hanzo, yeah. Get one built. It's like I'm not making another one. Riding on an airplane with your sword out. Yeah. So each of these gate towns has like a regional effect, meaning like it has each plane of existence embodies the actual alignment that it's aligned to, and it has a physical effect in the world. And so the two effects are bottomless greed. Equipment and lifestyle expenses in Torch are twice their normal costs. So everyone's trying to extract a higher price for things. So if you go to the gate town of Torch and you want to hire someone, or heck, even try to get, I don't know why you would want to pay for this in any place in the lower planes or anything connected to it, but um, but you're trying to find healing or lodging or just a guide or something, you're going to probably pay twice as much or more because they're going to try to extract as much as they can. Michael Marin says, Torch reminds me of the Thieves World books, but fantasy and dialed up to 11. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And in many ways, how it's described, let's see if I can find the epitome. I'm going to read. It's a little lengthy, but I'm going to read to you what it means to live in Torch and Gehenna. So, and this is a quote that was written, a fantasy quote. Okay, so how do they become so devious, so callous? And sorry, let me stop. This also, remember that this also is um, petitioners, souls that come to these places from the prime material plane are forged into these alignments. The planes of alignment want you to become part of the physical nature of that realm. It's literally an ideological, ethical, and uh, moral what you call weather system, um, physics in a way. And so the longer you stay there, the greater chance you're going to become like that place. And a lot of it imposes its will upon the people. So let me read this. So how do they become so devious, so callous? So imagine, dear reader, that your closest friend, the being you trust most in the entire world, is suddenly revealed to have been molding you to his needs and goals all along. How do you react? With shock and dismay, certainly, with self loathing for letting yourself be fooled. And you resolve not to make the same mistake with the next being you choose to befriend. But it happens again and again, over and over until you become untrusting, using others to see if they have the integrity to treat you as you deserve. By then, of course, you can clearly see how much smarter you are than everyone else, how you can manipulate others to your ends. And then you discover once again that you've been molded. The evolution continues. Though you see the pattern, indeed, though you set the pattern all around you, you come to realize that there's something greater. You feel no passion for your inferiors. They can be, should be, nothing but your unwitting pawns. Now you look to control the thing that controls you. So it is with the Yugoloths. And that's basically what happens. You get here, and maybe you're rather innocent, or maybe you're not innocent at all. You're just like, I just want to leave. And suddenly, as you try to make plans with people, asking simple favors. Hey, can you direct me to a certain place? You try to pay a fee to live somewhere. You try to go off on your own, and someone steals something from you. You huddle together with like-minded individuals, and suddenly one person pushes you down a hill, and they go, we don't have to divide it by four. It's just going to be the three of us. We don't need them. And suddenly you're like, I hate this place so much. And you no longer trust anyone. And then you preemptively start backstabbing them before they backstab you. And suddenly you're part of the problem, and you can't get out. And I like the idea that you can't hit it with a sword to solve the problem. And the complication of maybe goodish characters trying to get out of these places, knowing that every time they do a thing that reinforces the plane, it's just cementing their ability to stay here. And I love it. Shai says, so if you just show up in Torch, is it safe for you to be there? So, i.e., no poison atmosphere, fire everywhere, no sea of larvae feasting upon your flesh the moment you enter. Is it really just a town? Um, the way it's described by the border towns, the gate towns, that it is, dare I say, reasonably safe. So, in other words, if as a how do I, as a mortal being, if you come to a gate town, you will be influenced by that town. Yes, there's it's like, for example, here in Torch, are there giant volcanoes, and could you get burnt up? Yes, but it's not like you get off a train and instantly step into lava and die. It's You're looking around at the dangers, and you're going to have to watch your step. If you go through the gate into the actual plane of existence, if you're not prepared, you're probably going to end up getting your ass killed. So gate towns um gate towns are MacGuffin towns. Gate towns are, hey, player characters, if you think you really want to go down into the hells, here's an introduction to such a place. And they can learn what the dangers are. They learn that, you know what, in order for us, hey, we arrived out of the train at the bottom of base level of one of these high-rise volcanoes with a city spiraling around it. We're going to have to make our way up. And oh, by the way, roll some random dice. Here comes the earthquake. The volcano shaking and about to erupt. Oh, here's some poisonous gases, or pyroclastic, ash or something that falls by or whatever, right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Um, Shai says, does paying taxes make us all unwitting pawns of the Eugoliths? Are we automatically neutral evil just for doing our fiscal duty to stay out of jail? Maybe. Some we're getting close to world politics, but some would say that our unwitting ability, our unwittingness to support neutral evil makes us agents of neutral evil. Others say we are innocent and mindless because we don't have a way to navigate it any other way, and others would say that we're actually supporting it. But I don't know. We can get punished for not supporting it, right? So Mike Marin says, I imagine your mileage may vary based on DM need. Yeah. Oh man, the flesh larvae are really bad this year. Ever since insert quest hook here. Yeah, exactly. So the flesh larvae are actually as prevalent as needed to progress the plot. Exactly. It's plot engine, right? And I don't mean that to be conniving, like, oh, this storyline or this environment is no big deal. Everything's plot engine, right? The gate towns are basically our way of going, like, my players want to do Planescape, but they don't really know what Planescape's about. So here's a way to dip their foot into it to see how cold or hot the water is, right? Um, so there's some noteworthy sites around Torch. Some of them are pretty hilarious. One of them is the Bank of Abathar. Headquartered in the city of Sigil, the Bank of Abathar, detailed in Chapter 2, services customers across the plains. Account holders can visit a branch of the respected financial institution in the Outlands just spireward of the bridge in Upper Dohin, excuse me, but they might not like what they see. The Bank of Abathar in Torch is a cesspool of white collar crime. Fraud, money laundering, and forgery run rampant within the once shining branch whose crumbling roof collapsed long ago. Pummeled and melted by fiery rock slides, the statue of Abathar in the lobby is hardly recognizable. The bank's original tellers are gone, replaced by profiteers who skim a few coins off every transaction. They don't keep their ill-gotten gains for long, however. The branch gets robbed at least once a week. It's pretty weird, but yeah, there's actually a bank. And of course, you're asking yourself, why would people put their money in the bank? And again, some of those petitioners don't see this place as the entrance to the lower planes. They just think it's reality, right? So in other words, there may be people who are sent here from our world who've passed away or died or their souls were taken. And when they woke up here, they don't look at it as I'm in a different world. They look at it as reality today. It just happens that it's the physical embodiment of it. Do Yugoloth grow from larvae the way Tanari and Byatsu do? They don't talk about how they are formed. I'm gathering that um, my head canon tells me that the Eugoliths change, are born and change shape based on what is I want to call it successfully deceiving or being greedy about things. Like when they gather enough ill-gotten goods, they backstab enough people, they lie to people's faces enough that at a certain point they'll go off in the corner or whatever, and they will shed their old skin to become something anew because again, they always thought they were better than everybody else, right? And so that insectoid that has, I don't know, consume the flesh of 16 people might then become a shadow, like a shadowy Eugolith or something that's like, yeah, I don't, yeah, they they always call me, brutal and bestial. I'm no thug. I'm better than that. I'm a crime lord. So I have this weird like imagery of shedding a thing to become something else. Um, I want to ask a slightly off-topic question about prepping social encounters. Is the Discord the best place for that? Yes, because you can speak to people smarter than myself, and I haven't been in a Discord in a long time, which I need to. I need to make a schedule for that. Um, Thank you for reminding me about that. So, if you are a human who is treacherous and deceitful enough, can you come back as Yugolith in the afterlife? I'm thinking that's exactly what happens. And that person that becomes a Yugolith doesn't even realize that they aren't human anymore. It's just a natural byproduct of what they were in real life. So all those lying, stealing, backstabbing, making promises and not following through with them, politicians that come here that become Yugoliths, they don't I believe they don't see themselves as being something different, or at least a third of them. They just exist here with multiple arms off their back. It's like pickpocketing and things like that. Like I think they become the physical embodiment of their treachery. That's how I look at it. Um, of course, down at the bottom level of the the three spire um, volcanoes is basically a thing known as the Bloody Marsh, and that's where the Bloodied Marsh is the place where you can find devils and slotty and demons and things like that. Because this place being neutral evil, um, they many of them need spies, so they go to the Yugoliths. Some have been kicked out of both the Abyss and the Nine Hells, so they come here and they're at their bottomest level. And some of those demons and devils might who's to say that they haven't started to transform themselves a little bit, sliding into neutral evilness from their greed and their jealousy and such. So I think some of that comes about too. Yeah, yeah. Prepping when you're prepping for social encounters, it's best to have a stash of cigarettes and coffee beans for barter, the cheapest kind, of course. Yeah. Also, um, here's a bit of advice for social encounters. And mind you, in the lower planes, there's actually a lot more social encountering than uh, than a little bit. Um, so I would say that when prepping for social encounters, don't prep for what you think the players are going to do. So the strangest thing to prepare for what the players are going to do is ignore what the players you think they're going to do. Instead, prep for your NPCs. What do they want? If the player characters have never been introduced to your world and you want to prep an NPC, decide what the NPC wants. That way, whatever the players do or say, the NPC has a way to react to it. So let's say you have um we're in Torch and the player characters come upon a what looks to be a collective of, I'm going to call them pickpockets, and the PCs know this. They're here and they're pickpockets. Maybe in their past life they were pickpockets, but here what they do is they sweet talk people and they go around and they try to steal goods and they distract each other. They're like a clan, a little thieving gang or something. And you know that they don't want to be pickpockets anymore. They want to move up. They're actually willing to do a heist, and they know where there's something, some kind of uh, valuable item, or maybe there's some information about the blood war, maybe the location of some contracts, some demonic contracts or something. They're going to steal it and use it to threaten or barter or something. Maybe they haven't even thought it through. So now when they meet the player characters, if the player characters are very good and honorable, these guys are just going to lie. They're going to go, "Hey, we work with you. Don't worry about us." Or if the players are kind of evil, they may say, "Hey, we could use them as like thugs. We can send them in and they can fight for us, and we're just going to pickpocket behind them or whatever." Maybe this group talks to the PCs and does give them good information, and then goes, "We're going to pick up the pieces." We're going to pick up the pieces. Yeah, when they fight some evil and steal things and and steal the treasure after the PCs defeat the evil, and the PCs are like, "All right, we defeated some bad guys. Let's go get the treasure." And like, no, it's gone. So that kind of thing. So sometimes unfortunately, we try to predict what other people are doing, and yeah, don't do that. Uh, Prep for your NPCs and what they want. Don't prep for what you think is going to happen. He's so silly. But if you're on layer 303 of the Abyss, the sulfuranium, it's best to have sublimely cured dung instead of cigarettes. It's most popular in the smoking lounge of the Tanari, which which sounds pretty horrible, and yes, it's probably a truism. So I'm here on a Dumpstat and talking about the plane of Gehenna, and like, well, what is it? And it's also known as the fiery slopes of Gehenna, the fourfold foundries, the fires of perdition, or the bleak eternity of Gehenna, which is what I was trying to say in the beginning of the broadcast. Um, it is a plane without charity, mercy, or pity, and that's repeated quite a bit. Without charity, mercy, or pity, so that when people are down, other people will stomp on you. And a mechanical way to represent that is if a player goes down, they're knocked down prone, they drop to 0 hit points, they slide down a hill, or rather, they when a player is at their weakest, something or somebody else will take advantage of them. Now, I understand that players expect themselves to be how do I say they expect themselves to be safe, and here they aren't. So a living agent, when a player goes down, expecting living agent to try to jump on them, steal something from them, push them down the hill, so that you're constantly making one step forward, two steps back. So if a player gets knocked prone, have random NPCs come out and kick that person downhill. Why? Because somebody is going to try to take something from them or treat them bad, right? One way to elevate ourselves is to stomp on other people to make ourselves feel better. Um, have monsters jump on characters when they go down to 0 hit points to try to kill them. Have NPCs jump on player characters to steal things from them. Have the literal environment. PCs are fighting enemies. Enemy kicks a enemy. I don't know. Reskinned Minotaur kicks PC in the chest and knocks them prone. PC says, "Well, I can just take an action and stand straight up, right?" And you go, "Well, because you fell prone, roll dice. A gout of flame just shot up in your space, right? It's There's no charity, no mercy, no pity. So if you go down, it's because the place is trying to beat you down. And I think that would be a great way to reinforce, like, oh no, you can do the yo-yoing and drop to 0 hit points, but there's a good chance you're probably going to end up getting killed, or fail a bunch of those death saves if you're using free to the world 5th edition, and use that as a method to like reinforce the horror of this place. Shai says, speaking of Bleak, are the Bleak Cabal the main faction of Gehenna? I didn't get into. I don't remember all the factions, but probably. I could see that. Like, hey, everybody, for those who don't know, another great facet of Planescape um, are the factions, and some of the factions have a pretty bizarre outlook. But if you exist in the planes of existence, in this multiverse, you go, that actually kind of makes sense. Like, for example, there are there's a faction that believes that there's no point to living, and all the planes of existence will end up collapsing in on themselves like a black hole, and debauchery should just be a thing. Whereas there's another faction that basically says that every living thing in the outer planes are dead already, and we just need to accept the fact we're all living in um, a halfway state of limbo. We haven't literally transformed, ascended to where we should be, and so on and so forth. Yeah, the Bleak Cabal are a group of mentally disturbed humanitarians in a hopeless crusade to make the multiverse a better place. Yeah, you're gonna make this. This is gonna be better or else, right? Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I love it. Now that I think about it, all the Planescape states must import huge amounts of incense, spices, and perfume just to get the sulfur smell out of everything. Or they just smell like a bunch of farts. That could be it. Yeah. Yeah, only the lower planes, probably. Mm-mm-mm. Mike says, I know very little about Planescape, really, but the word sulfurous seems to appear in the lore blocks a lot. Yeah. It's the lower planes. So for it, um, just as a reminder, the the planes of existence. Let's see. Let's see. The wheel of Planescape. Let's see if we can find an image here. Everything's AI boosted. All right, there we go. We're going to share this. And what's the easiest one to read? These are from, I think you can read this one. And let me switch places. There we go. Maybe. Can I go through? Please don't take me. All right, let's see if we can go there. All right, hold on. Mm-mm. All right, this is extremely old school here. Okay, the image is taken from, I believe, the either the Dungeon Master's Guide or the Player's Handbook, and this one. And let me move a little bit. Let's see if we can find another one. And this one, these images correspond to the traditional alignment, the 9 alignment block system. All right. So let me go back up to this square one here. So this is the astral plane, this gray part. Right in the middle is concordant opposition. This is the plane of neutrality and has a little piece of every one of these other planes of existence. And the within the concordant opposition is where the spire is and sigil. I know they call it sigil, stupid. Where sigil is the tourist city, the ring world, and then around it in the outlands are the gate towns, and that's what we're talking about today, Torch. Now, if you look at this, you're like, well, why is there more than 9 planes of existence if there's only 9 alignments, and one of those alignments is in the middle, which is neutral? So once you go from like across the top, you have like so starting at number 10, 7 heavens, that's lawful good. And so along this left side is all the lawful alignment. 7 heavens, Arcadia, Nirvana, Acheron, 9 hells. That's all lawful. If we go all the way to the other side, that's all chaos. Olympus, Gladsheim, Limbo, Pandemonium, the Abyss. And this is all the old names of these planes of existence. And that's all chaos on the right side. Across the top is all good. 7 heavens, Twin Paradise, Elysium, Happy Hunting Grounds, Olympus. That's good. And then across the bottom is all the evils. 9 hells, Gehenna, Hades, Tartarus, and the Abyss. Gehenna is technically neutral evil, lawful neutral evil, if that makes sense. So in between the 9 alignments, you also have partial alignments. So between 7 heavens, lawful good, and Elysium, neutral good, is Twin Paradises, and it is lawful neutral good, and so on and so forth. Happy Hunting Grounds is between neutral and chaotic good, so it is neutral chaotic good, and so on and so forth. Woof. Sorry, but that's the best way I could describe it. And here's another one with the wheel. It's kind of called the wheel, and yes, it is a physical representation of the multiverse of planes and things like that. And technically, there's a rule called the rule of. There's 3 rules, the rule of 3, and one of them is if you keep moving, you'll eventually come back where you started. Um, and it the planes of existence rub up against each other, and if moving at the speed of plot, um, whether you take a train that can go to the different planes of existence, whether players can literally walk from one plane to another, that's up to you. But essentially, they rub up against each other. There's no hard line. It kind of moves from one to the other, and that's so. Sorry, that's diverge. Yep. Let me see if I can find. Let me go back here and let me get rid of this. And let's see if we can find something a little bit more recent. Let me see. Here's another one. Um, it's from the wiki. Let's see if the image is here. Can I get it to come up? And let's see if I'm actually displaying this. Nope. Let me share this out. Great Wheel Cosmology. There we go. Great Wheel. How did that turn off? A little hard to read. Bam. A little hard to read here, but even with this image, it details the first. I'm sorry. The numbers listed here from like 1 through 53 are the names of the lower planes in each of the layers of the lower planes that exist within those places. So, for example, in Gehenna, there's 4 levels, numbered 37 through 40. And so they're known as Kalis, let's see, right over, or Chalice. It could be Kalis, um, Chamanda, and Mongoth, and Krangoth. And so there are different levels. For example, if you look at number 41, everybody knows the 9 hells. Avernus, Dis, I've always heard it was pronounced D. Avernus, Dis, Minaros, Phlegethus, Stygia, Malaboj, etc. Yeah. Maladimi and Caena Nessus down here. So they even have names for the lower planes within each of those other planes of existence. And if allow me to get out of here, go back, and what's something even more recent with the more recent names? That's N world. Oh, Tartarus. No, they're using a different one. What's something that's easy to read? I can't read it. Share this tab instead. Pop-ups, fucking pop-ups. And yeah, here we go. Elysium, the Beastlands. I wonder if you guys can see this. Okay, there we go. Elysium, the Beastlands, going from the top. Bitopia is on to the left. Mount Celestia, Arcadia, Mechanus, Acheron, and these are the more recent names of these locations. The Beastlands: Arborea, Isgard, Limbo, Pandemonium, and we've been focusing on this lower curve here, going from lawful to chaotic, and then most of this is like neutral and evil. All right. There we go. All right, let's get back into Torch and the backstabbingness of the Eugaliths and such. Um, um, there are. Let's come. We have to talk about why we would be here. I know we can always get to the very end here, so let me shotgun some reasons why people would be here. First of all, um, if you want to create an arcane group of people that are criminals of all types across the multiverse, this is probably the place where they would be. If even if they only existed for a short time, this is where they would be. So, uh, gangs of shape changers like doppelgangers who have, I don't know, mimics as pets, who are also who have also gathered other shape changers or something like that, and they're assassins. There would be anyone that or anything that casts illusions in a group of individuals. So you have um, liars, thieves, assassins, um, saboteurs, anything like that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, once we're done, everything. Yeah. Oh, you're very welcome. So down here in Torch, player characters may need the services, or maybe the player characters a little bit seedy themselves. And if they need, an arcane spy network that are made up of nothing but hags and rakshasa and doppelgangers, I'm trying to think of other shape changers. Then and to get their services, these may be the people you need to talk to. You need a place to hide out. This is a great place to do it. Everyone has a price. If you're willing to pay that price, knowing that at some point they might backstab you, but for a short time, here's a great place to go to hide, because everybody here is a liar. Everybody here is trying to um, scramble for their own survival. And if the PCs need to escape or get away from lawful authorities or something in the great planes of existence, they come here, they're going to have to decipher through a lot of lies to figure out who's the real person. um Kind of like committing a crime and then spilling the place with a lot of DNA, right? It's not that they won't find you, is that they're finding too many other things to get to you. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for starting us with the lower planes. Once we're done with Akron, everything's gonna suck. I know, because we'll get into the lawful and the good planes and stuff like that. But there's something interesting about them too. Um, Also, why would player characters come here? Here's the thing: all the Eugoliths, all the liars and thieves, if you don't want to use Eugoliths or daemons in your planescape style setting, if you want to shape it the way you want, most things that are stolen, taken from other people, end up here as well. So finding something here may be a great thing. Player wants to find an artifact, a magic item, a diary, a map, or something like that. Somebody probably stole it somewhere. Maybe the players are looking for a memory, a lost memory, a stolen memory. It's probably going to be here somewhere if you can find it. Here's the bad part about finding anything that's here in the lower planes, especially here in Torch and further in Gehenna. If you find it, it was stolen from somebody else. So a player could be here to return that item, or maybe the player just wants it. But you got to remember, if you find something that's really valuable down here, it probably belonged to somebody else. So instantly there's a story there. Player gets magic sword. Guess what? That magic sword belonged to somebody else, and someone stole it. Player finds a arcane trinket that represents the memory that some other powerful entity has. They're going to want that back. Um, Finds a map to a way to get to a hidden gate that gets you to another place. They're going to want that back. So that's also a thing. All if your players need a back door to get into a place that is fortified, that is hidden, that is only known in rumor, chances are someone somewhere in and around Gehenna and the city of Torch, or Gate Town of Torch, has that information for sale. You just have to find that person and find out what the price is to sell that thing to them. Now, what can you sell? Gold feels good, but gold may not be the thing that's for sale. It could be a memory, an ancient artifact. It could be something that the player characters come across or need to sell, and the person that asks for it, hell, you could even sell a little bit of your hope. That's it. That in and of itself, a little bit of peace. Hey, these people down here, they're selfish, but they also, it's not necessary that they want to live here. Maybe there's someone that's like, hey, listen, promise me a way out, and I'll get you what you want. Now, if the player adheres to their end of the bargain and promises and takes them out, does this person take their bad behavior with them, or is this an opportunity for them to forgive themselves, to become a different person? Who knows? And that's where the that's where the great that's where we come across our great stories, right? So he says, except archons and angels will cheat the fuck out of you in a lawful good manner. That'll be a good topic for later when we get to Mount Celestia. Yeah. There's a okay. Much like has been brought up before about how like, for example, there's no such thing as being pure good. There's no such thing as, there's almost a cyclical, if you're too lawful good, you end up falling into the same trap that the evil planes are. I think that's a feature. I don't think that's a problem. I think that's actually a good feature to have. Um, what else? I like the idea, of course, that um, the lower planes apps are representative of the different alignments, and a player character that wants to play neutral evil and feels like they're the only one, they're the special snowflake, and they get to torch and they get into Gehenna through the gate, uh, showing them a whole plane of existence that acts like them is pretty friggin' cool. And unfortunately, you as a person who's running the game can kind of like you can kind of live out some of your slightly sadistic parts of your personality, because these planes of existence are pretty sadistic, and especially the backstabbing, the biting, the keep in mind there's no flat ground. So anyone that has any flat place to live is going to hold on to that. It is valuable real estate. And that means that in a fight, in a battle, you guys know I love using the environment as that third part of a conflict, that if somebody falls, you're going to fall downhill. And unless you knock your head or grab an outcropping, you're going to keep on falling downhill. And is someone going to reach out their hand and help you? Probably not. Could a player character use the threat of knocking somebody down a hill to get what they want? Of course they can. So, and then coming up with, it doesn't all have to be dirt and grabbing onto the hillsides. Would there be outcrops where you see a small town, or a a, a, a mechanical device, or mechanical vehicle crawling up and down the sides of this mountainside? Maybe there are giant monsters like a mutated or reskinned version of a dragon turtle, or spiders or crabs or something that walk up and down and around. Phase spiders would probably fit in. Would move around this region, and people grab on them. Apparently, nightmares, the horse, not the mental affliction, the flame breathing, black skinned, flaming hooved nightmares run up and down the hills here and are trained mounts and such. That may be a thing. Flying creatures that fly around the spires of the volcanoes would probably be good to travel around and use that in your encounters and such, where the players are trying to sleep and they find a little cubby hole or a cave or something, and they can hear the onrush of, like, I don't know, hordes or stampede or something coming towards them. Or they go to a small cave, and of course the cave is filled with webs and spiders and stuff, and just make life miserable for them. I'd also say maybe the players learn new things. Your roguish type players may learn, how to bypass arcane locks and things by learning it from individuals on these lower planes, and who have these skills. And let's see what else. If the players are agents of the Planescape bureaucracy, they could be coming here to go after criminals, bounty hunting. They could be reinforcing rules, maybe bringing people here and leaving them here. Uh, maybe they have a list of individuals that they need to get out of here because they don't belong here in the first place. And lastly, the players may be sent here by agents from somewhere else, loved ones, people from the prime material plane, something like that. That is individual that's on the cusp, a petitioner, and his petitioner might get swallowed up into it, and the PCs need to get there in enough time to save this person, literally save a soul or multiple souls, and bring them to the upper planes, or at least in the city of Concordia, in the town of Sigil or whatever, and bring them there and get them out of here, and do it in such a way that they're not going to end up getting backstabbed. And remember, the minute you get to Torch, your presence, the PC's presence here and in Gehenna, that knowledge itself is valuable. So who knows if somebody might sell the information about what the player characters intend on doing and sell it to the highest bidder somewhere else out there in the greater multiverse and such. Heck, for some strange reason, maybe there are Eugliths that take a shining to the player characters. Yes, they constantly are asking for they're conniving backstabbers, but they might like the player characters because it allows them to get what they want. So that's also something. Shai says, bounty hunting missions to Gehenna. If you're good alignment on Gehenna, will everybody know the instant you get there? You know what? I wondered that, but um, if you read about the planes, it makes it seem like that's not the case. So let me see if I can find something here because it mentioned outsiders' perspective, natives' perspective of living here. But I want to go to. It talks about the atmosphere and how horrible it is. The light. Here's a weirdly painted, but very emblematic of Planescape. Here's the maps of the different levels, which are just basically just another. You just go to another volcano, which is some are huge, burning, some are ice cold. And let me get down to gravity and the slopes. It talks about constantly falling down and feeling like you're always teetering on the edge of losing something. This image right here, it gives you the different levels and locations. Like Kalis is here. Um, oh, and I got to give two more things. So you asked about if you're good, is it instant? And let me see if I can find it. No, this mimicry, Tower of the Arcanoliths, the Burning Ice, the Portents. Come on, come on, come on. There's a faction of good people. Crawling City. Come on, where's that faction at? There we go. Factions and peoples. So we have the demons and devils. And of course, they're waging their war across this. Imson here. Here we go. Holy warriors. Sorry, I got to sneeze. I apologize. Okay, so here we go. And I'll tell you what I'm reading into it. So occasionally, paladins of good and mercy will attempt to build fortresses on the first layer of this plane in an attempt to purify the land and steal the land for another plane. If they are successful, after a few days, the land becomes purified and good and is transported to another plane. Most fortresses, wow, I can't pronounce. Most fortresses are destroyed within a matter of hours or days by the devil and demon armies who both hate these do-gooders. Now I want to point out something that I think they did on purpose. They say in an attempt to purify, right? And steal the land for another plane. And I think the wording and steal the land is neutral evil incarnate down in Gehenna. So the good holy warriors try to go down here, and what do? Are they saving souls? No. Are they beating back evil? No. What they're doing is they're trying to steal the land to purify it and take it to another plane. But guess what? The fortresses get destroyed in a matter of hours or days. Why? Because they're bringing their own downfall by trying to steal the land. There goes that cycle of like, I'm doing good, but I'm doing bad. Then something bad happens. Now I need to do good, but be doing the good thing too much. And I'm am I reading too much into that? Let me know if you think that I'm reading too much into that. But yeah, and thank you very much, Kasutai. Thank you. What I get from I didn't even save this out to you. I didn't even share this out. So um again, damn. Yeah, again, Occasionally, paladins of good and mercy will attempt to build fortresses on the first layer of the plane in an attempt to purify the land and steal the land for another plane. And what I'm gathering is the goodly people from other planes of existence probably go down there, probably with very good intentions. And what happens is it's not that they're instantly recognized for being good. What happens is the actual plane of Gehenna influences them to want to steal the land, and therefore it's their downfall. So that they within a matter of hours or days, the fortresses are destroyed by devils and demon armies who both hate these do-gooders. And it's I think what happens is the literal plane itself causes them to steal the land, and then it's like, gotcha, mofo. Yeah, you thought you was all that. You ain't no better than the rest of us. So yeah, no. So I like that. Lastly, to talk about the petitioners. Petitioners are the souls of those who have died and are now in the afterlife. The petitioners of this plane are considered the refuse, the unwanted, the greedy, who were never happy with what they had and were constantly scheming and conning others. Here they seek to grow more powerful and ascend to become proxies or gods themselves. Uh, though most typically are forced to march in the blood war, die due to a failed scheme to gain power, or are rounded up by the Eugliths to become distractions via torture. So, yeah, people come here, they're liars and schemers in real life. They get here, they think they're going to achieve some kind of level of power or something. And guess what? You ain't no better than everybody else. And so it backfires. Yep. Shai says, no, you are not reading too much into it. I think you hit the nail right on the head. Lesser YouTubers would not be able to summarize the ambiguous morality of Planescape so well. Thank you so much. And listen, I default towards creation more than destruction, positivity more than negativity. So when I see something like Planescape and its problematic issues, like again, I feel it's a good feature. It's not a problem. It's a good thing. It's like, oh, I see where they're going. Now, are they really going there? I don't know. But in my own head canon, I'm like, yeah, this kind of makes sense. I can see what they're doing. And maybe this is a good reason why the Celestials never seem to win, because every time they go down into the lower planes, like a Jedi who goes against the Jedi Order thinking they're doing something good. Let me give you an example. Maybe one or more Jedi are like, we need to destroy the Sith. You guys are wasting time. We need to go after them and hunt them down. And we know from the outsider, the more that Jedi and maybe their Padawans or whatever to hunt down the Sith, every time they murder kill the next one and the next one, they are themselves falling into the trap of the thing, becoming Sith. Now, on the surface, they wouldn't call themselves Sith, but we know where they're going. And I think the same thing can be said for the goodly powers above that want to come down into the evil planes and go to war with them. I think over time, they are convincing themselves, I'm doing a good thing by doing this thing. I'm doing a good thing by lying to these people, knowing I'm not saving their souls. Because later I'll come back later. I'm promising myself I'll come back later, but we really know they're not going to come back. Or they come down to the lower the nine hells and they see how people are, and the celestials are like, you deserve to be here anyway. Forget you souls. And they leave them there. That's a corruption to themselves. No grace, no faith in their ability to maybe be pulled out of this dark world. Maybe they go down into the nine hells to fight, and they realize, guess what? You're fighting against the very people, souls you were trying to save. They're not savable anymore, and a person gives up. Maybe that celestial turns to the dark side and is like, you know what? I see now. We're not going to win. And that celestial starts to grow like black feathers start growing in on their wings. the evil denizens down there are like, no, we're not going to fight you. We never wanted to fight you. Look at it on our side. Hey, everybody, put your weapons down. Nine health. Put your weapons down. Listen, let's just talk. Let's talk. This. Let me just show you what's happening. Here's why we're torturing them. Look at their life. Here, let me show you an image, right? And I can see that being the feature. So, yep. Yeah, Celestials can certainly connive a cutter into coming back as a main or lemur or other form of larvae. Yes, cutters. hey, hey, you're a Burke and I'm a Burke. Yeah, what's a body gonna do? I love that that in world, the way it talks. The books are written like an unreliable narrator is like explaining what the planes are. They lost that a little bit, but I miss that. I miss the language in there. But anyway, you're like you said, Celestials can surely connive a cutter into coming back as a main or lemur or other form of larvae, maybe as a spy, right? Hey, if you do this thing for me, hey Vince, nope, we're almost over. So, what if a Celestial starts using the souls of evil people to say, you have a place in the heavens, the goodly places, if you just do this one thing for me. And that evil person is convinced that they're going to be good. And maybe they, in their mind, are thinking they're doing something good, which could actually rise them up. But the Celestial could be falling because they're using people in this war, right? And we're having this conversation. Does that mean that that's what's really going to happen? I don't know, but that'd be a great story, right? Yeah, Shai says, I mean, they can trick you into committing treachery and going to hell and coming back as a lowly hellspawn larva. Yes, absolutely. They could trick you to have that happen. And how many times have the Celestials done that? How many times has what's another good thing? Cloud Giant or Quaddle or Kyrin or Silver Dragon that's an agent in the wars convince good people to do bad things to go into the hellscapes. Vince says Gehenna was demons or devils? Neither. They were Yugoloths. Yugoloths and or better known as daemons. Yeah. They are neutral evil. They are liars, schemers, backstabbers, deceivers. Here's the last thing that I think is a very strange feature of Gehenna. Okay. Gehenna has a moon called Mimicry. Yes, you'll quickly understand why it's very strange. Mimicry is a moon that hovers above and outside of the towering volcanoes and the sloping lands of Gehenna. And learn something new every day. So the Yugoloths exist here, but why is there a moon? Why is the moon important? And it's named Mimicry. Strangely enough, if you get to Mimicry, the moon is a peaceful place. It's the one peaceful place in the lower planes of neutral evil. Well, actually, technically, it's neutral lawful evil. And it is a safe place to go. The problem is the moon, Mimicry, is a giant sphere that has a town on it. The entire moon is a mimic. And it can recreate any living creature that drops a drop of blood onto its surface, absorbs it into itself, and then can create another citizen of the town to make people feel peaceful. And each person is always attached to something because those people are grown out of it. And it is the one safe, air quote, safe place to be. So the moon itself is a mimic, and it's pretty hilarious. Yeah, Moon of Gehenna. Yeah. Giant mimics are always cool. Yes, they are. Yeah. Sounds like they wanted neutral evil demons and devils. They are. They did. Because they wanted lawful evil, chaotic evil, and then neutral evil, demons, and that's why they were called daemons. And then during the Satanic Panic, they changed the names of all of them, so they became known as Yugoliths, Tanari, and Baatsu, and so they changed the names of them. He made them categories. Then they went back to demons and devils, but the ones in the middle, the daemons, never went back. They still remained Yugoliths. So yeah, that's how it is. So anyway, guys, thank you very much. I'm taking too much of your time. Too much of your time. Where else do we want to go? Let's go to Hades next time, because Hades is next door, and I didn't want to. We go to Acheron. Let's go to Acheron and then Hades. Let's do that. Because I kind of, the reason why I didn't want to go in order is because they're so similar to each other. It'll, while the flow sounds reasonable, I think broadcasting it would sound repetitive. So I wanted to go back and forth. So we'll go to Acheron next time. I think Acheron is lawful evil. No, lawful evil neutral, something like that. Lawful neutral evil. Fuck. I can't remember. No, we don't know. We don't have, ours happens in coming up. Uh November 5th, 4th, 5th, 4th, whatever. This weekend, I believe it is. Yeah, Shai says, okay, thanks for another good one. Hackaron will be fun. Lawful, neutral, evil. Cubes crashing into each other. Yeah, that's a weird one too. Cubes crashing into each other, and when you go to lower levels, it's literally razor thin shards smashing into each other and crashing and stuff. It's kind of weird. And the gate town is known as the infinite battlefield of I mean, the gate town is called Rigus or Rigus, Rigus, and it's gate town. I mean, it's a gate to the infinite battlefields of Acheron. Saturday, Sunday, yep. So you had the over the weekend, and ours is this coming up weekend. I hate it. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about the time schedule, time shipping. Yep, happy Halloween. By the way, werewolves, vampires, ghosts, and zombie. There's a place here known as Zambezi Bay, and at night the park is opened at night, and they have like actors, and so there's like zombies and ghosts and goblins all running around the park scaring people half to death. So it was pretty fun. There's like force haunted houses and things like that, and so yeah, I had a little fun there. Maybe I can join tomorrow. Free day in Germany. Cool, sweet. Now remember the time. Remember the time. Yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Thank you very much for spending it here. Your time is very valuable. I hope we can make some change, at least in the gaming community. All right, guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace.